Welcome, welcome everybody to episode 51 of the Mental Health Hour here on Twitch. Blaine is in the house. Welcome, Blaine. Good to see you.
Hey.
Good to see everybody, all the live viewers stopping in to say hello. Craig, good to see you as well. Tracy, Thomas. We're talking intrusive thoughts tonight. So for the next hour, we'll be going over what intrusive thoughts are, how to cope with them, manage them more efficiently, hopefully, and what we do, what Gemma and I do to try and, because I learned a lot about intrusive thoughts specifically when I was down at rehab. So everybody has them. It's not entirely a mental health problem, so to speak, like a symptom of just one specific thing. It could be a number of things. A big thing that intrusive thoughts deal with is OCD. So it is a symptom, but it isn't. Everybody on earth has intrusive thoughts at some point. So it's a completely normal thing. It's just one of those thoughts that get into your brain. The devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder. Of course, the devil being intrusive thoughts, and then the angel being the voice of reason, hopefully. So that's a little basic overview. But before we get too far in, Gemma, how are you this week?
Not too bad, not too bad. Better than we were last week. Obviously, there wasn't a show last week because of everything.
Yes.
But, it's good to be back. That's for
Would
sure.
you like to fill us in or whatever you would like to?
Yeah.
How
So
everything's going now?
it was not last week, the week after. Thomas had been sent into school not as normal. I got a call. He'd been in there less than an hour. They said that he'd spiked a fever. I went to pick him up, brought him home, put him to bed, because by the time I picked him up, his temperature was fine.
Sure.
But a couple of hours later, it was over 100 Fahrenheit, which is like 39. He got up to 41 Celsius. It's like over 102 Fahrenheit, I believe. Went delirious. Completely lost all ability to move, to talk, to communicate in any way. This was on the way to the hospital, and it turns out that even though he's got his full remission status, he's still immunosuppressed for another 6 months till everything comes out of his system and he gets back to normal. And he contracted chickenpox, which started affecting his health and things like that. So he was rushed in, put on IV antibiotics, IV fluids, IV all sorts of things. Had lots of scans, lumbar punctures, you name it, he had it. And then whilst we were both in there, we both caught COVID. I was then 2-3 days later, after being in the hospital with him, I was rushed off to another hospital and given an IV antibody for COVID, because my SATs were at 71% oxygen. I had ended up collapsing in the bathroom at the hospital. And that was because I was trying to ignore it and keep going, because obviously when you're a child in hospital, you don't want to leave them.
Sure.
And I tried to keep going a little too much, and my body was like, no, not happening anymore. So yep, we got the Rona. So we're all good now. We're both negative.
Was that your first time getting?
Yeah, first time for us all. Thomas had it, then me, then my mom and dad. My dad's still actually testing positive, I believe. It seemed to take quite a while to clear out of my system.
So your mom, I guess your mom went home and and your dad got it.
Yeah, because she'd been visiting us, helping bring stuff to the hospital.
Surprised they didn't quarantine her.
Well, we got it from the hospital, so there wasn't a right lot we could have done by that point.
Right. Yeah, that's a nice courtesy of your stay here.
Thanks,
Courtesy of your
thanks
stay
for your
here.
stay. As thanks for your stay, we'll give you some about the Rona, you know. And that's the thing. We tested negative on entry, so they couldn't say we'd brought it with us. It was
True.
definitely something we picked up there.
True, and it sounds like Thomas had chicken pox the whole time, so that's not
Yeah.
coronavirus related. Anyway, so yeah. Well, good evening, Jeremy Stoltz.
Jeremy.
Ladies, hello, ladies, says Jeremy.
Oh dear.
Anywho, good to see everybody here, though, and I'm sorry we missed last week, but with everything going on, Gemma and I talked it out and thought it best to take the week off. I could use the rest myself, so I wasn't complaining. I don't use anything really special up here. Just, like I said, never mind. I do have the Brio up here, but
Yeah, that's what I'm using.
I'll be back down at my normal home base here after July, when everything settles back down, and both of us return to work. Yeah. So, intrusive thoughts. Let's talk mental health. What, Gemma, do you have anything off the get-go about intrusive thoughts?
Certainly having body dysmorphia gives me intrusive thoughts on a daily basis. With it, when it comes to my appearance and things like that.
Sure.
Intrusive thoughts is, I guess, anything that can affect your thinking, rational thinking, day-to-day life, anything that would be deemed as technically unhelpful to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can be just little niggly things like, I guess something that can make you stop in your tracks for a moment and think about something. Sometimes it can be helpful, depends, not entirely intrusive, but then sometimes it can completely consume your life. And for a long time it did with me, particularly surrounding the body dysmorphia and everything else. But I think intrusive thoughts is something that everybody at some stage in their life will get.
Mm-hmm.
Just how significant it is and how significant you allow it to become.
Yes. And that's part of what we'll get into a little bit about coping with them, is how much you let them nag at you. And that's where the folks that deal day in and day out with obsessive-compulsive disorder or OCD, these thoughts completely consume their day. It completely takes over until they are able to put it at peace or do something about it. So, just for example, if they're thinking about washing their hands, until they mitigate that, I mean, it's just a never-ending kind of bug that just takes over their being. Hattie, good to see you. Welcome to the broadcast. And a ray of sunshine is rating Ray, a great supporter of our show. And catch Ray live on his own streams there at a ray of sunshine 21. There he is in the chat. Please give him a follow and check out his positivity and streams. And we will continue to support our good friends as they support us out there. And I'll just throw him up there real quick. A ray of sunshine with our friend Ray there. There's his Twitter or Twitch handle. And catch his streams there on the regular. Monday, I heard he had, or I popped into his scope and he was dealing with a power outage on Monday in the area. So
Oh gosh.
that is unfortunate, but I guess everything's straightened out now. And right there also is our BioLink, folks. Please take a moment at some point to go over to our bio.link/TMHH for our new followers here and our new raiders. It's good to see everybody from Ray's stream joining us. Welcome to the Mental Health Hour. We do this every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is my co-host, the lovely Gemma. She is in Leeds, England, and she is for the English folks, it's 11 p.m. over there. So she stays up with us on these Wednesday nights, and she's been with me now on this show for 45, 46 episodes. Yeah, we've done 50 episodes about together, and everything is over at our bio link if you are interested in checking us out and learning more about what we do. It's every week we break down a mental health topic. This week we're talking intrusive thoughts. So very awesome to have you guys. Thanks for the raid, Ray. We appreciate you bringing everybody over here. So as Gemma was saying, intrusive thoughts can become more and more unbearable for those that allow them to take over their day, basically. So that, I mean, when we think about it, and I was going over folks with obsessive-compulsive disorder, for example, allow these thoughts to just consume their every being until it's mitigated, some way, shape, or form, until they deal with it in a therapeutic way, however they're told to cope or are learning to cope with their OCD day in and day out, or they take care of whatever the thought is. For example, turning the light switch off till they go and physically check that the light switch is off. Then maybe there's peace. It could pop into their head again. Anyway, these are unwanted, triggered thoughts, essentially. And Gemma was mentioning about her body dysmorphia, how those can be, there can be intrusive, unwanted thoughts there, of course. Not as an obsession, right, Gemma? It's not so much an obsession. Do you obsess about when the intrusive thought hits? Would you say you obsess about it until something is done, or you deal with it, or it just kind of lingers for a minute or two and then you move on?
I used to, when the body dysmorphia was, I mean, it's always going to be there. It's not something I'm ever going to really get over. But certainly in the earlier days, I would completely get consumed by it and obsess about it. Especially if there was something there, like, I guess, for example, just a really quick example of it, you could get like a zit or something, and in the grand scheme of things, it will go away. But I would obsess about it and get really, really upset about it. Like scars, things like that. And I think the worst thing for me was the weight gain, particularly after I'd had Thomas, and I couldn't get rid of it to the point where it became that much of an obsession. I physically tried to change that to the point where, had I not have stopped, I could have seriously injured myself. But once I was aware that what was going on and worked on, it was very, very difficult. But once I became aware of it and started getting the treatment and the help for it, it's still very much there. But like you said about the good and the bad side, like the angel and the devil on you, like, yeah, the bad side's like, oh yeah, going on and on, but it's not as loud anymore. and the voice of reason is there, like, okay, yeah, it's there, leave it, it'll go. You can ignore it, you can put the makeup on, for example, stuff like that.
And then finding ways to cope
Mhm,
and then think better thoughts. Think
mhm,
more positively. So there's a term called lateral processing, um, where you turn basically one thought, a negative thought, into a positive thought, or a
mhm.
negative emotion into a positive emotion.
Yeah.
This was something very helpful for me to learn um, in dealing with inpatient rehab for alcoholism, um, and uh, ultimately severe depression. Um, Taking those depressed moments, those thoughts of depression, those negative thoughts about me, about my person, about who I am, and just ultimately a general down in the dumps feeling, and trying to laterally process that into positive thoughts. Obviously, stuff that brings joy to my heart, joy to me as a person, joy to
Mhm,
my brain, um, which in turn kind of flips the overall mood, uh, the general mood that I'm in. Um,
mhm,
it seems so uh, basic and simple, but it's very much so overlooked. It's not something I thought of initially on my own. It took somebody to really point this out and say, "Hey, you have to." I know it's hard at being in a depressed state. It's hard to get motivated to get moving and do something um, that brings joy to you. But you have to kind of get that ball rolling so that slowly and surely that general mood and overall feeling actually does change for the better. Um, so obviously, a little bit for if anybody's still in here that's new with us, I have alcoholism. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'll have 2 years sober in middle of June, so coming up,
mhm,
and uh, I've also deal with severe depression, anxiety, the gamut of everything that goes along with depression. Um,
mhm,
there's just I went to an inpatient rehab facility and learned quite a bit about mental health and what kind of causes these triggers and what have you. And now, as a part of my 12 steps of AA, and the 12th step of recovery for that matter, is passing it along and sharing the good word, essentially. And that's what this show really is all about, is sharing our experience, strength, and hope. Gemma came on board with her list of mental health issues and what have you, um, to
mhm,
join us for episode 5, and where she was my first guest on this show, and she just fit right in. So I asked her to stay on. Obviously, this show is much easier and much better with a co-host and somebody to bounce ideas and conversation off with, rather than me trying to just spout everything I learned from my stay at rehab and my time working in a 12-step program.
mhm,
Um, but it is been an absolute blessing for my mental health, and helps those intrusive thoughts stay at bay. Feeling or doing something positive, like I was talking about, like this show, has been essential to my recovery and my journey. And talking with all of you in the audience, the live audience here with us every week,
mhm,
our loyal viewers, and talking with some people that have just dropped in for certain episodes and what have you, that all join our Discord and stuff. Um, Hearing the stories that you bring to us every week and talk with us about, and let us into your life a little bit, and um, being able to communicate as a group and see that we're not alone out there, that everybody struggles and everybody deals with some form of maybe depression or intrusive thoughts or body dysmorphia. There's a whole gamut of mental health struggles out there that we can all connect on some level with each other. Me and you might not be able to connect on alcoholism per se. However, we can connect on some of the underlying things that go along with it. And, it just happens to be one of those things that we can all come together as a community and discuss and share.
And I
TJ,
think as humans with empathy towards that naturally as well, like we want to like reach out, help one another, but also I think deep down we've all got something that connects us mental health wise one way or another. And I know, like, when it comes down to the intrusive thoughts and stuff, some of the biggest things for me was like when I first started live streaming and stuff, overcoming those intrusive thoughts to go and hit live, the go live, like, well, why would people want to watch me? Stuff like that.
sure.
And overcoming that. And I think you were the same, weren't you? You struggled to go live at first.
Yeah, it's more of a daunting thing. I've never been too shy around the camera, or I mean, I was a wedding DJ. You DJ'd yourself,
Yeah.
so it takes a certain personality to get up and DJ a wedding for people. So the showmanship of it is not a huge deal for me. It was more or less kind of going live with, my story, my thoughts,
Yeah.
my
Opening up, being vulnerable.
yeah, exactly. Just being an overall. Why would, I guess, like you were saying, is anybody going to care about this? It turns out, all of that is for naught. Certainly, people care. Certainly, you connect with folks on some level. And Twitch wouldn't be successful if it weren't for people wanting to just get on and tell their story, or sing a song, or share their talent. It's what Twitch is all about. Live streaming, watching people play video games, or play instruments, play their music, and draw. We have a great art community, and just the works, positivity scopes like Ray does. Getting on and just there was a bit of hesitancy going live just because of that initial thought. But once you get going and you start meeting people and you build an audience and you get a co-host out of the deal and everything, it takes no time at all to hit that live button every week.
Yeah. I know I probably enjoyed doing it. I missed it last week, even though like I would have been sat here and people would have wanted to have been knowing the emergency services number because I would have looked rough. And they would have wanted to call the ambulance, no doubt, for me because I looked that rough. But I miss doing it. And I've always said like the willingness to want to help people way outweighs any intrusive thoughts I have of myself and any intrusive comments people may make towards me, and that massively outweighs all the negativity around it.
Sure.
The willingness to want to help and the ability to connect with other people.
Yes, everybody connects on, like I was saying, on some level or another, whether it be this content or Jeremy doing a drawing stream, sharing his art with us, getting folks to connect with the artistic side of things. And what you have come out of it is just usually pretty good conversations and good friendships. As we've seen, Gemma and I, since we started this show, the Discord community that we've created from it has grown massively. And right now we have 11 followers, we have 11 viewers according to my account. Studio at this given moment, but we've been up to 20. People come and go as they can. It's an hour show. We don't expect. That's why there's replays and stuff. If the material grabs you, you can always catch the replay. But if you look at our Discord, we're up 60, 70 followers. And those are all people that have caught our show at some point. And as Hattie is mentioning there for us, we are planning to do a very popular thing that our friends of this show and everything and have really enjoyed is the write-in show. Please send us your questions. June 1st, next week, we will be doing our live Q&A. So this will be our third one, and everything from intrusive thoughts to depression to alcohol-related questions to
anything,
body dysmorphia. We've gotten it all from our audience, and they're all anonymous. So feel free to hit the bio link or that link there that Hattie's provided, and send us a question, and catch the episode next week. And TJ says, I've missed hearing you guys. Anxiety kept me away. Sorry to hear that, TJ, but we're here every week. The replays are always available for you. If being here live isn't working for that week, please feel free to catch the lives all over there on YouTube. I'm going to have to do some fancy editing, I think, for this one, because we've been live for 31 minutes, but my Twitch session says it's only 21 minutes. So apparently we lost Twitch feed at some point, and it came back. But anywho, let's get into some slides here, as we are at the halfway mark of the show, and we haven't really gotten into our meat and potatoes. But we actually, we have been talking intrusive thoughts and everything that goes with it, along, even when we're just discussing how much going live helps us. It helps with those intrusive thoughts as well. So Gemma, if you are ready, just to start off, here's a look at some common thoughts that we deal with. You take us around the wheel.
So we have here some common intrusive thoughts. I'm going to start at the top and work round like a clock. So thoughts of crashing your car. I'm going to do something inappropriate or embarrassing. That's really good when you have, say, like when you go live, for example, or if you have like a big event or something coming up and it's a big thing for you. Inappropriate thoughts or sexual images, thoughts of doing something illegal, flashbacks to bad memories. That's a very, very common one. I know both for myself and many people. Thoughts of hurting yourself or others. Thoughts of leaving the house unlocked or an appliance on. Oh, I'm very, very good at that. The number of times I leave the house and think, did I lock the door? And I have to go and check that.
And that falls into your OCD. Folks with OCD, one of their big things, such as that.
Yeah, very much so. Thoughts of being a failure or a burden, like a burden to other people. That's a very big one for myself as well. getting stuck on negative self-talk, when I mentioned the body dysmorphia, things like that. Thoughts of doing something violent, or I'm going to get sick, or I have a disease or serious illness. That's a big one for when you get maybe diagnosed with something new, or maybe a loved one gets diagnosed with something new. I find that doctors are very good at giving you the name of what it is you might have, but not giving you much information about it. And I know myself and many, many other people I'm sure this applies to, if you're told that you have something, or a friend or a family member has something and you're not quite sure, the urge to go and look that up is so great. But you can end up looking on Google for, like, say, if you've stubbed your toe and the next thing you know, you're about to die, something like that.
Oh, sure.
You need to make sure that you're using a reputable site for a start. And it's like catastrophizing on what you have and making sure you don't overthink things and think like the worst case scenario. I know I've got a scan next week and I've been worrying about it for months, and it's really hard to try and not overthink things and just think, well, I've got the scan coming up, it is what it is, we'll see what
Sure.
happens when it happens. It's hard sometimes to not think the worst case scenario. So yeah, that's those ones. They're common
Yep.
intrusive thoughts.
And mentioning, you know, you had said something about catastrophizing, and that just is a good reminder and segue to our episode about cognitive distortions. These can obviously all be classified in that cognitive distortion, CBT, DBT kind of um, classification of thoughts. The putting these thoughts on trial and um, and looking at it in a more of a manner of uh, pros and cons, what's true, what isn't, um, and then going from there, after putting the thought on trial, moving to a better, hopefully, thought about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so with this one again, intrusive thoughts, how to cope with thought loops and intrusive thoughts. So a thought loop would be literally, as it says, something that's coming into your mind and you just can't get it out of your head. It's
Yeah,
constantly going over it. And often when you're going over it over and over again, as it keeps coming around, it keeps getting worse. It catastrophizes, and it's just like a broken record. Literally, if you've got a broken record or something, and it's constantly going over the same bit, and the more it goes over it, the worse it becomes. So, find the source of the thought, redirect your thoughts to something else, focus on letting the thought go. Practice self-soothing and self-care. So we've discussed many times different ways to deal with like this and different things you can do for self-care. Rationalize your thoughts, which can be hard, but
that's putting that on trial, that thought on trial, like I was just talking
Mhm.
about.
Yeah. Let your thoughts just be a thought. So having the thought, that's normal, it's fine, but don't overdwell on it, don't overthink it. Like, notice that you've had that thought, like we did with the when I did the I can't remember the name, the body scan, like we talk about with pain. Notice
Mhm.
that you have that pain, notice that you have that thought, accept it without the judgment of having that, and move on from it.
And don't always let it become a reality. Um,
Yeah.
Not every thought that you have is going to be one
Mhm.
that needs to be a reality. Like,
Yeah.
folks have something as simple as, I don't know if you've ever if anybody else has ever. This is going to sound kind of demented and weird, maybe, if I'm the only one. But has if ever you've been on top of a tall building or
Mhm.
something, or a balcony, and you kind of looking over, and the thought enters your head that, hey, I could jump at any time.
Mhm.
Not that you want to, or you plan to, or that you ever think to, not that you're suicidal, not that you want to harm yourself, just an intrusive thought that pops in that you have the freedom to. I
Mhm.
mean, this could be a reality at any point. I could just jump. This
Mhm.
is the thought I'm kind of discussing, saying, let's not make everything a reality. This is obviously not a thought that needs to be a reality. This is just it's
Mhm.
basically, I think of it as my own way of protecting myself and saying, let's not get too close to that edge, because uh,
Mhm.
it's not a fact of I could jump. It's a fact of this is pretty dangerous and pretty
Yeah.
sketchy area. Let's kind of back up a little bit, or tie ourselves off, or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're safe. Anywho,
Just because you can doesn't mean you should, kind of thing.
absolutely,
Yeah.
I think it's completely normal to uh, for a thought like that to pop into your head, just to remind
Mhm.
yourself that, hey, you're in a precarious spot at this moment,
Mhm.
and uh, you know, not necessarily I could jump, but I could also fall or
Yeah.
trip or stumble. Um, and you just realize the magnitude of the situation you're in.
Yeah. 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 And
Here's a
like
couple.
anything, it says right at the end, reach out for support
Yes,
always. Okay.
and a
Um.
couple of tips for moving forward are these next few slides. Hang on, let me throw this one up first.
Yeah. Let me okay.
So this,
So intrusive thoughts and how to deal with them. Okay, so intrusive thoughts are unwelcome, involuntary mental patterns or unpleasant ideas that may be upsetting or turn into an obsession. And then they are closely related to OCD. You'll find that a lot of the traits actually are or become an obsessive-compulsive disorder.
mhm,
They can cause depression, and many deal with them via substance abuse. So,
sure,
like, it says many doesn't necessarily mean that it will, but it can. Like with anything, it can. Intrusive thoughts can be devastating, but there are ways to deal with them, it says.
yes, and that'll take us into these tips.
And a good thing, again, like we've said many a times, if you're noticing these, journal them,
Yes,
because not only does it help to get them off your chest, but if you later on go for getting that help, it's always a good thing to have something to refer back to.
hmm,
Right. So this is understand your core values. Tip 1. This will help you understand why intrusive thoughts affect you. So a study by Concordia University showed that 94% of the global population experiences intrusive thoughts. So 94%, that's a huge amount.
that is. It's almost everybody. So
Mhm.
you are not alone with these intrusive thoughts. Everybody deals with them. Um,
Mhm.
I actually think 94%. I'm surprised it's not 100,
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm sure at some point in their lives,
unless they're
everybody.
counting infants and such, because we can't really take their survey. But
Mhm.
understanding your core values is first and foremost for a lot of things mental health related. What do you believe in, and
Mhm.
um, what are your core values and ethics and stuff? Go back to basics. Go back to square one. Moving forward.
Yeah. So we have tip 2 is to accept and move on. When you arm yourself with the knowledge that these thoughts will happen, it makes getting rid of them much easier. So it's again, like we said, about accepting that that is what's happened. It's accepting that that is something that, like we said with the body scan and things, accepting it without the judgment and moving on
Yep.
from. And then tip 3, never running away never works. People tend to run away when it's something that is upsetting. Facing intrusive thoughts head on and they will go away. I definitely can say that running away doesn't work, because no matter how far you think you've run away from it, at some point it will always come back. It doesn't mean it will, like, somebody will physically be stood in front of you, for example. But if you're getting those thoughts and putting them where you feel like running away from them and putting them in the back of your mind, at some point in your life, they are bound to come spilling out again.
Yeah.
No
And
matter how much you think you've got rid of them, they will come spilling out at some point, and it's usually when you least expect it or want it.
and we run away in different ways.
Mhm.
You've touched on accepting it, so I'm not going to cover that anymore. You went over that pretty well earlier.
Mhm.
But running away, as to add on to what you were saying, um, I we the previous slide was talking about, or two slides ago, whatever it was talking about folks that turn to substance abuse. That is another way of running away from a problem.
Yeah.
You can turn around about face and run the opposite direction um, from your problems, or you can turn to another outlet, such as substance abuse.
To try and blot it out.
Yeah, to try and forget, and it does. That's a what they call a short-term solution to a long-term problem. You'll
Mhm.
forget about it that night when you're in your drunk, but then tomorrow when you're good and hungover, uh, your problem is still there, looking at you and waiting for you. So face it head on and deal with it and cope.
Mhm. Right. Oops, just swiped out of it. There we go. So, tip 4, they're not real. It's important to remind yourself that these are just wild snippets of your imagination and have nothing to do with your reality, particularly if you make sure that they're not the reality. If you keep going over it and making it your reality, consuming that and letting it consume you so that it becomes not necessarily the thought as such becomes your reality, but your reality is clouded by this thought, which is why it's so important to make sure that you do let it go
Mhm.
and make sure it doesn't become part of your reality and that your reality isn't clouded by this.
Yep. Perfect. Nothing really to add there. It's just what Gemma was saying. It's um, basically that, like we talked about at the beginning. If you weren't here at the beginning of the show, the
Mhm.
devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other.
Very much. And then tip 5, a change in behavior won't do good. You know that those thoughts aren't you, so there's no reason to stop doing the activities that might be related to those thoughts.
Sure. Um, Changing your behavior. Um, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. I guess in the sense of somebody with OCD, somebody
Mhm.
that struggles with OCD, uh, they 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 can't stop washing their hands altogether.
Mhm.
That would be unsanitary, unclean, and not the right move here. Um, but managing the feeling of washing your hands to an extensive amount of times per day is
Mhm.
more, I think, what this is relating to.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense? Am I explaining that correctly?
Yeah, we spoke about the hand washing and stuff because I've had that myself, and a lot of it's to do with the psychological. This, like, not always necessarily doing it, but it's about limiting. With that limiting, that yes, you know that you should wash your hands because it would be disgusting if you just stopped altogether.
Yeah.
But it's normal to do it, but limiting the amount of times you do that. But then with the behavior in general, like if it's something that, if you know that it's like, unless of course you're breaking the law, and we're not talking about that sort of behavior, but you being you and doing your own thing and doing what you enjoy, that's normal, that's you. But having
Yeah.
it, like, maybe because you think that, for example, bringing back into the live streaming and stuff, for an example, there was a few times where I've had maybe 1 or 2 viewers and I've thought nobody's interested anymore in what I've got to do or what I've got to say or whatever. Me changing that and thinking, okay, yeah, that's true. Nobody likes it and stuff. It's not going to do me any good because maybe that day everybody was busy. I don't know. So keep going with it. If you know that it's something you enjoy, something that's right, something that isn't illegal, why change it? Just it's changing the thought process rather than the actual behavior.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
like probably loads of ways to explain that.
Yes. You don't want to give up everything that's good in your life, and you don't want to make decisions, changing behaviors like hand washing that would be unsanitary for your life.
Yeah.
You know. So that's perfect. And a special good evening to Jim in Chicagoland joining us from his drive home again. It appears that it is his birthday. So happy birthday to Jim in Chicagoland.
Yes. Happy
A
birthday.
very special Catalyst Wednesday birthday celebration.
I have something to send via message later from Thomas as well.
Awesome.
Yes.
And last but not least.
Right, and then tip 6, therapy works. It will help you understand the part of your psyche that is more prone to react negatively to these thoughts. 70% of people with serious disorders like OCD are treated with cognitive behavioral therapy. We've discussed CBT before, which is proven to be highly effective. And as we have said many times on the show, therapy isn't a one-size-fits-all. If you are finding you are in therapy, but it's not particularly helpful, have a look at changing your therapist or what it is that you're doing, because everybody is different when it comes to therapy. It's not a case of you've got a headache, take a tablet, it'll go away. You know, it's not that sort of thing. As with medication, as with therapy, it really is structured around the person that is receiving it. So if you're not finding it helpful, at the end of the day, you're the customer, you're the person that is receiving this. So you need it to be adapted so it does work for you. Do you know what I mean? So if it's not working, it doesn't mean it's never going to work. It just means that it will work maybe with somebody else.
And hello to Good Karma. Good to see you in here. Welcome to tonight's episode. And Jim promises us during tonight's Catalyst there's no tornadoes during the cast. So not quite weather enough to get out there and start up with the fire pits yet, but we're definitely getting there, getting into the good weather days. As Hattie reminds us, please check out Catalyst tonight with Jim, and we'll go over that again here towards the end of the broadcast. But it's good to see everybody stopping in again, all the live viewers, and thank you guys for stopping in for the support. Thank you for your constant bits and subs and raids and everything that goes along with this Twitch platform. So it's great to definitely see all that support. We love it. And Good Karma says, I have OCD, so I'm listening in. Yeah, that was tonight's topic. We'll be wrapping up here shortly, unfortunately, but it sounds like Penelope is already awake and creating havoc downstairs. So I have to hop off right at 7 tonight. But it's good to have you in here. Replays are always available. Please feel free to check it out. Intrusive Thoughts was tonight's topic, and what to do when those intrusive thoughts come in. Everybody, or at least 94%, as we've just learned, of the globe deals with these intrusive thoughts. I say it's 100%, but
yeah.
But definitely definitely something to discuss.
Mhm.
As a great deal of us deal with intrusive thoughts, and they're just triggers and catalysts, if you will, if I could use the term,
Mhm.
for negative behavior. If we allow them to become reality, which is kind of what we were discussing tonight, is accepting these thoughts as they come. As you're not going to get rid of intrusive thoughts; they're always going to be there. Um, and it's just coping with them and dealing with them rationally. I
Mhm.
guess is the key word. Rationally uh, thinking and dealing with these thoughts. Uh,
Yeah. And
so
it's
that
learning as well, like, what is an intrusive thought, for where it's from, but also what has been planted there maybe by other people. Because a lot of the intrusive thoughts that I've had was initially, if you look back, being planted there by somebody else. Because having dealt with narcissists, shall we say, in my past, and even now, they they love to plant the seed of doubt in your mind, and especially if this is somebody that is influential in your life, for example,
Mhm.
maybe parents, significant other, if they keep saying those things to you, that can then become part of your reality. And it's to try and get it so that it's not something that you believe, and that it's not then becoming ingrained into your brain as a reality and then becoming an intrusive thought, because that really is all it is, something that has been planted there by somebody else. You're trying to recognize that that's where it's come from and not allowing it to become ingrained into your brain as a reality,
Yeah,
when the reality really is that it's come from somebody who is likely putting it there as a way to keep you down and keep you right where they want them. It's like when we said about Play-Doh, for example, or like a dough, they are molding you to exactly the way they want you to
hmm
be. And if you don't fit with their agenda, if you don't fit with how they want you, they'll keep going and going until you do. And if putting those intrusive thoughts in your head is what they need to do to get that and make you become a shell of the person that you once were, make you believe those things so that you won't go out wearing that outfit, or you won't go out and see those people, or you won't speak to these people or whatever, then that's what they'll do. And then that becomes not just them giving you that behavior, but it becomes part of your intrusive thought as well then.
indeed. I mean, that's well put. Very well said, Gemma.
Mhm.
And thank you, Good Karma, for the 300 bits. Again, as always, thank you everybody for all of the bits and the
Mhm.
resubs. Jim in Chicagoland resubbed. Good Karma has subbed. It looks like, which is awesome, amazing. And thank you for the raid at Ray of Sunshine 21 tonight. Don't forget to catch Ray's awesome positivity scopes
Mhm.
um, when he goes live Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Um, and let's talk a little community calendar. As we've talked, or as we've mentioned tonight, we have Catalyst with Jim in Chicagoland, who's driving home from work right now to get ready and set up and have
Mhm.
dinner, no doubt, with
Yeah.
family. But he'll be on at 11 p.m. Eastern time tonight, Jim in Chicagoland, at Jim in Chicagoland for his Twitch handle. Catch him, unwind, relax with a welcoming audience next to a warm candle. There's nothing else quite like it for your midweek chill zone with Jim, a master of words and talking to the candle and us, the audience.
Yes.
He fields any and all comments, so come to the party with whatever you want to discuss. There's usually a theme that he'll throw out there, but he entertains everything. So come one, come all to Catalyst this evening for a birthday celebration with Jim. Uh,
Mhm.
and then let's talk about next week on our show. Next week, we have the live Q&A 3, our third time doing this. Please get all submissions into us before next Wednesday. The link is there in Hattie's comment, and you can also visit the bio link for it. All submissions are 100% anonymous through Google Docs. Even if you were to write your name or write somebody else's name or whatever, we can't verify that it's you. So it is 100% anonymous, unless you were to put some code that only we would be able to ask you the code or the PIN number or whatever. Then we could verify that it was you. But really, it is 100% anonymous. Feel free to send us any and all questions. These have been very popular shows, and they usually run about an hour and a half for us to get through all the submissions. So we'll probably be on for an hour and a half next week from 6 to 7:30.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I'm planning on. And what else do we have? We have Ray of Sunshine. We've talked about Ray, a great supporter of the show. Catch his streams Mondays and Tuesdays are at 7, I believe, and then today, Wednesday, was at 4. And join our Discord. Please join our Discord if you would like to join a great community of all folks here in the live audience and the folks that catch the replays, etc. Great community. Gemma, do you have anything to add? Am I missing everything or anything, or did I hit it?
No, I think you've covered everything. Just thank you again to everybody for being here. Obviously we had the week off last week, so thank you for coming back to us for episode 51. Here's to many, many more.
Indeed.
Yeah, don't forget there's the Discord if you're not on there. It's in the bio link. Don't forget
sugar. Hattie is reminding me here in the comments. Thank you, Hattie. For all things funny, please. I did not forget about our good friend Ella, the bunny mom.
Yeah.
She streams here on Twitch now as well. But her site, more importantly, www.mybunnyvalentine.com. Use my promo code FireDude15 to save 15% off your order. And support our friend Ella in her mission to save all the bunnies worldwide. Rescue all of the rabbits, if you will. And then, yes, Gemma's putting our website on there as well. TMHH Online. Everything is in the bio link as well. So it is good to see you. I have got to jump as Penelope is awake and waiting for me. Sounds like Mama's already feeding her, so that's calmed her down a little bit. But anywho, it was a great show. Thanks for joining us. No raid tonight, as I'm going to shut everything down. I don't know if that'll do something. So we're just going to go outro. And thanks for joining in. We'll see you guys next week for the live Q&A. Get those questions in.
Bye.